Summer is supposed to be the best time of year for dogs. Longer days, time outside, walks in the evening, trips to the park. Your dog seems to love it. They're alert, excited, ready to go at any hour. And that enthusiasm is exactly what makes summer dangerous. Because your dog will follow you onto a surface that is burning their paw pads. They will run alongside you until their body temperature hits a point that causes organ damage. They will stay in the car because they trust you to come back, while the temperature inside climbs to deadly levels in minutes. They don't know when to stop. They don't know when the situation has crossed from fun to dangerous. And they can't tell you when they're suffering because by the time suffering becomes obvious, heavy panting, stumbling, collapse, the damage is already done. Heat stroke kills dogs every summer. Burned paw pads happen every day. Serious dehydration sends dogs to emergency clinics throughout the season. And the overwhelming majority of these cases are accidental, not the result of neglect, but of not knowing what the risks actually look like until it's too late. These are the mistakes most commonly made by caring, well-intentioned dog owners. Knowing them is the difference. 1. Walking on hot pavement without checking the temperature. This is the most common summer mistake, and it is the easiest to prevent, once you know it's a problem. When air temperatures are high, paved surfaces absorb and radiate heat far beyond what the air alone registers. On a day when the air temperature is around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, asphalt can reach temperatures of 140 to 160 degrees. That is hot enough to cause burns in under a minute. The paw pads of dogs are tough. They're designed for rough terrain and varied surfaces, but they are not heat-proof. At those temperatures, burns happen fast, and they happen silently. The dog may continue walking because they're motivated by the walk, by your pace, by the routine. They may not stop or cry out or refuse to move. You find out later, when they start licking their paws obsessively, when you notice redness or peeling on the pads, when they begin limping. The test is simple and takes 5 seconds. Place the back of your hand, not your fingertip, which is more calloused, flat on the pavement for 7 seconds. If you can't hold it there comfortably for the full 7 seconds, the surface is too hot for your dog's paws. That's the rule, no exceptions. The practical response is to shift your walk timing. Early morning, before the sun has been heating surfaces for hours, and evening, after surfaces have had time to cool, are the safe windows. Midday walks on paved surfaces in summer are not just uncomfortable, they are a real and frequent cause of injury. If you need to walk during peak hours, stick to grass, dirt paths, and shaded routes. And if you're planning to be in an area with unavoidable hot pavement, paw wax, or properly fitted booties, provide real protection. Most dogs take a few days to adjust to wearing them, so introduce them before they're needed. 2. Trying to cool down an overheated dog the wrong way. This one matters for emergencies specifically. If your dog ever shows signs of heat exhaustion, heavy panting that doesn't slow, drooling more than usual, uncoordinated movement, bright red gums, vomiting, or loss of responsiveness. How you respond in the next few minutes has a direct impact on the outcome. The instinct is to cool fast. Grab cold water, pour it over the dog, put them in front of a fan with ice packs. It feels like the logical thing to do, but it can make the situation significantly worse. Applying ice-cold water to the surface of an overheated dog causes the blood vessels near the skin to constrict rapidly. This is the body's protective response to extreme cold. It pulls blood inward. But in a dog who is already dangerously overheated, this is counterproductive. It traps the heat inside the body where it continues damaging organs, rather than allowing it to dissipate to the surface. The dog can look cooler externally while continuing to overheat internally. This process can also trigger shock. The correct approach to cooling an overheated dog is methodical and uses room temperature or slightly cool water, not cold. Apply it to the areas where heat dissipates most efficiently: the underside of the paws, the belly, the inner thighs, and the armpits. These are areas with higher blood flow close to the surface where the cooling effect reaches the body's core more effectively. Let the water evaporate. Evaporation is part of the cooling mechanism. If you have access to a fan, position it to move air over these areas. Offer small amounts of cool water to drink, not ice water. and call a vet or head to an emergency clinic immediately. Heat stroke is not a wait-and-see situation. Organ damage can occur within minutes. The dog who survives heat stroke without permanent damage is almost always the one whose owner knew what not to do, as well as what to do. 3. Leaving them in the car, even briefly. There is no version of this that is safe, and yet it continues to be one of the leading causes of preventable dog deaths in summer. On a day when the outside temperature is 85 degrees Fahrenheit, the inside of a car parked in direct sunlight reaches 104 degrees within 10 minutes. Within 30 minutes, it reaches 120 degrees. The windows being cracked does not meaningfully change these numbers. Being in the shade does not meaningfully change these numbers if the car has been standing in the sun for any time before the window of shade. And the amount of time you're just running in almost never matches what actually happens. Dogs cool themselves primarily through panting, the evaporation of moisture from the tongue and respiratory tract. In a hot, enclosed space, there is no cool air to bring in and no way for the moisture to evaporate effectively. The system breaks down, core temperature rises. At a rectal temperature of 104 degrees, the dog is in serious heat exhaustion. At 106 degrees, organ damage begins. At 108 degrees and above, the damage is often fatal. The only exception to never leave your dog in the car in summer is a car that is actively air-conditioned, with the engine running, and with someone watching the dog. Not the parked car with the windows down, not the car that was air-conditioned while you drove there. The running AC system. If you encounter a dog in a car on a hot day and cannot find the owner immediately, note the time, call local animal control or police, and document what you see. In many jurisdictions, you have legal standing to act if the dog's life is in danger. These situations are emergencies every time. And the desire to run, to play fetch, to keep up with you on a jog, that desire is not an accurate indicator of physical safety. Dogs will push through heat to stay with you or to keep playing. They are not good self-regulators when motivation is high. The body of a dog generates significant heat during exercise. Muscles produce heat. Metabolism produces heat. And dogs have a limited ability to dissipate heat compared to humans. No sweat glands in the skin, only small ones in the paw pads. Heavy coats in many breeds, and airways that become less efficient under heavy panting. When the ambient heat is high and the dog is also generating heat through exercise, the combination is exponentially more dangerous than either factor alone. The safe window for exercise in summer is early morning, before the sun has been up long enough to heat pavement and air significantly, and after sundown, when temperatures have had several hours to decrease. In most climates, this means before 8 or 9 in the morning and after 7 or 8 in the evening. Everything in between is a risk window, not an exercise window. For breeds that are already heat-compromised, flat-faced dogs like bulldogs, pugs, and French bulldogs, heavy double-coated breeds, very old or very overweight dogs, those windows are narrower. For them, even moderate exercise in moderate heat requires careful monitoring and can tip into danger faster than the owner expects. Subscribe if you want to keep your dog safe through every season, because the next mistakes are the ones people feel least guilty about until something goes wrong. 5. Not managing shade and water access carefully enough. Most dog owners know their dog needs water in summer. The mistake is not knowing, it's implementation. A bowl of water placed in a sunny spot can reach temperatures that dogs won't drink in an hour. A bowl that is full in the morning may be empty, dirty, or evaporated by early afternoon. A single water bowl for a dog, spending extended time outdoors, may not be enough if they are active or it is very hot. Shade has similar nuances. A patch of shade that exists at 9 a.m. may have shifted or disappeared entirely by noon. A shaded area in a yard does not mean the yard stays cool. Ground temperature, radiated heat from nearby surfaces, and reduced airflow can make a shaded area significantly hotter than the shade alone suggests. The practical minimum: multiple water sources, refilled and freshened frequently. Shade that is stable and covers enough ground for the dog to rest comfortably in any position. And checking on outdoor dogs more frequently than feels necessary. Dogs who are left in yards without adequate shade and water often do not come to the door and ask for help. They cope until they can't. And by the time they can't, you may have a genuine emergency. For dogs who spend any significant time outdoors in summer, ice cubes in the water bowl, frozen treat toys, cooling mats, or elevated cots that allow airflow underneath the body, and access to a cool indoor space during peak heat hours are additions worth making. None of these are luxuries. In a hot summer, they are the difference between a dog who copes well and a dog who spends a day at the emergency vet. 6. Overlooking the dogs who are most at risk. Not all dogs face the same level of risk in summer heat. Understanding which dogs are at higher risk lets you calibrate your protective measures appropriately. Brachycephalic dogs, those with flat or short muzzles, including bulldogs, French bulldogs, pugs, Boston Terriers, boxers, and Pekingese, have anatomically compromised airways. Their soft palate is often elongated, their nasal passages are narrowed, and the structures of their throat create resistance that normal-faced dogs don't have. In cool conditions, they manage. In heat, when panting becomes the primary cooling mechanism, their limited airway efficiency becomes a real safety problem. They overheat faster, and the signs can progress quickly. For these breeds, summer caution is not a preference. It's essential. Elderly dogs have reduced ability to thermoregulate efficiently. Very young puppies have the same limitation. Their regulatory systems are still developing. Overweight dogs carry extra insulation and require more effort for basic movement, generating more heat from less exercise. Dogs with heart or respiratory disease have already compromised systems for managing exertion. Any dog on medication should be checked with their vet, as some medications affect heat tolerance. For all of these dogs, the safe exercise and outdoor time windows are shorter than for a healthy adult dog of a standard breed, and the threshold for get them inside and cool them down is lower. If you're not sure whether your dog is in a higher risk category, your vet is the right person to ask. 7. Ignoring the early warning signs. The final mistake, and often the most costly one, is waiting too long to act once a dog is already struggling in the heat. Dogs in early heat distress look like dogs who are tired or a little off. They pant harder than usual, they slow their pace, they look for shade, they may start to drool more than normal, they may seem slightly disoriented. These are the moments to act, not the moments to say, "They're fine, let's keep going." The dog who is showing early signs of heat distress has a body temperature that is already elevated. Catching it here, with immediate shade, cool water cooling of the extremities, and rest, can prevent the situation from becoming an emergency. Pushing through, even for a few more minutes of activity, can push a dog from early distress into a heat exhaustion state that requires veterinary intervention. Know the early signs: heavy panting that doesn't slow with rest, excessive drooling, seeking shade or lying down voluntarily, gums that look bright red, unusual quietness or slowing. Trust them. End the activity. Start cooling. And if the signs don't improve quickly, or if they progress to vomiting, stumbling, loss of responsiveness, or gum color changes toward pale or gray, get to a vet immediately. Summer belongs to your dog as much as it belongs to you. They want to be out there with you. They want the walks in the park and the time spent together in the long light of a summer evening. Protecting them from the specific dangers of this season doesn't take much. It takes knowing what those dangers are, building habits that account for them, and trusting your dog's signals when they're telling you that something is too much. They can't say it in words, but they're always saying it in some way. Learn to hear it early enough to matter. Subscribe if you want to keep your dog healthy and safe through every season. The more you understand the risks, the easier it is to prevent them.